to optimal patient care. Now, our patients, all of us, trust healthcare providers to make accurate clinical decisions along the way, taking them across this bridge to their state of health. Yay. Unfortunately, however, there are gaps in the medical education that weaken the structure of this foundation. Specifically, only 10% of reporting medical schools assess competency in diagnostic laboratory medicine. This means that healthcare providers may start on the path unprepared, and patients can fall through the cracks, suffering from something known as diagnostic error. Diagnostic error means a lack of an ability to identify a reason, an accurate and timely reason for a patient's health condition, and in fact happens much more frequently than our more commonly talked about surgical and medication errors. 18 million diagnostic errors are thought to occur each year. Nearly every person will experience a diagnostic error in their lifetime. Additionally, about 14% of the diagnostic errors that cause the most severe harm are related to the misdiagnosis of infections. So, to help reduce this risk of diagnostic error, our team proposes our product, Diagnose, which is an interactive, continuing medical education tool that simulates real-life clinical scenarios. You can think of it like a choose-your-own-adventure game book, except in our game, our player, which is any healthcare professional, gets to collect simulated patient information, gets to order and interpret diagnostic tests from a virtual lab, and then makes treatment decisions. So, rather than spending your afternoon exploring deep space or diving into the sea, our players get to build confidence in diagnostic and treatment decision-making skills. By tapping into this market of continuing medical education, we can reach into an approximate total addressable market of $1.16 billion. And this is based on the number of providers who are engaged in a specific type of CME credit. When we limit that to online educational content, it has a served available market of about $500 million. And then when we focus specifically on infectious diseases, looking at the prevalence of 2 infections that we intend to include in our pilot, we have a target audience of about $16.6 million, which has a diverse field of investment types that contribute to it. Now, there are competitors in the field. One of the big names is MedSims, which is a WebMD Medscape platform that does have simulated real-life clinical cases. Users can order lab tests and provide summative feedback as well as having CME credit. However, in talking to our potential users of our product, we have identified there are gaps in the field. For example, there is a lack of infectious disease focus. Users can't configure the simulation based on their training level. There's unrealistic clinical decision-making timelines based on when lab results come back. And there's an inability to actually assess laboratory medicine competency. Our product, Diagnose, has similar features to competitors, but also fills the gaps that are currently in the market. So I thought of this product when I was working as an infectious disease diagnostic lab director, and I'm intimately involved in medical education and see a real need for something like this in the field. I then reached out to a collaborator, Dean Whitfield, who is a doctoral level instructional designer and specializes in asynchronous learning environments, like online or remote learning. Together, we've been working for about a year now on a minimum viable product, and we've recently expanded our collaborations to include members of the Division of Infectious Diseases at UC, the Department of Internal Medicine Resident Education Program, as well as the UC Continuing Medical Education Department. So together, we hope to have an MVP completed by January of 2020. From there, we hope to develop a beta product and then pilot that product within the UC College of Medicine. And by December 2020, we're hoping to expand out to additional test sites. But we need some help. So specifically, we need help with our beta product. So our ask for today is we're looking to develop a relationship with any product development partner, as well as potentially connecting with an EIR who could help us discuss some of the potential business opportunities related to this venture. In doing so, you could help us empower healthcare providers to confidently use the right test at the right time for the right patient in order to make clinical decisions to improve patient care. Or, in other words, diagnose. With that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention and thanking the Venture Lab, and I'll take any questions.
Nice job. All right. Any questions for Maggie? I have a question.
Yes.
In this world,
Yes.
and if there's a clinician in the room, I apologize in advance, but they don't like to be wrong.
Yes.
Can you talk?
No one likes to be wrong.
Can you talk a little bit about how this would be sort of positioned clearly so that they wouldn't feel like they were being told they weren't doing it right?
Yes, absolutely. And I've talked to a lot of physicians in the field, and they perceive this need. So there's some good data out there that physicians, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants know that there are these gaps. And so they feel that in their clinical practice, and they're actually seeking out resources to help them, and they just don't exist. So I think it is a balance of not saying, well, you didn't know how to do your job, and we have to come in and teach you how to do it. It helps them do it better, and it makes them feel more confident, because everyone wants to be able to do their job well, and if they feel uncertain, they struggle, and patients struggle. So I think it is a gap or a balance of reaching that, I think, for sure.
Cool, great.
Yeah.
Good question. Sorry, we'll go all the way to the back.
So it's a great idea. The question is, have you, to follow up, the clinicians are so basically the creatures of habit. Have you talked to your customers to find exactly what their needs are? I think it's a great idea, but have you actually talked and found out if they're willing to adopt this and how they can pay for this? This is a very competitive market in terms of series and CA out there.
Absolutely, yes. So to repeat the question, and correct me if I've missed any parts of it, is talking to users and recognizing that they are likely doing the same things, being creatures of habit. How are they using it? Will they use a product like this? How will they pay for a product like this? So absolutely, we've reached out to a variety of different learner levels, going from medical school, where something like this could be imposed upon them. It's voluntold to do it, as it were, or up to a resident level where there is a curriculum for a guideline, and so it can be implemented to attending provider levels, and where they are required to maintain their certification to get continuing medical education credits for those who don't know that term. So for paying for it, they either have funds, professional development funds, that will pay for it, but oftentimes you see either governmental grants or pharmaceutical companies, someone who is invested in improving care, provide grants for things like this, and then the CMEs actually provided free to the users. So our actual buyers may be a different level than our end product users, depending on how we want to approach it. And the sense I get is they are very interested in getting it. We have some unique ideas of how we can incorporate it into their workflow that I'd be happy to talk to you about offline for that.
Good job, Maggie. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, as Robert comes up, I would like to also say, if you did not get to ask your question today, our teams will typically be around afterwards because we always get a big cohort shot of everybody at the end. So if you need to catch up with somebody afterwards, please feel free to do that if your question doesn't get asked. Robert?
Thank you.
Let's see here.
So my name is Robert Ross. I'm with RNA Discovery Laboratories. The central dogma of molecular biology says that DNA is transcribed into RNA, which is then translated into the proteins that fuel our body. So the intermediate molecule here, RNA, is composed of 4 nucleosides. And depending on cellular need, any of the 4 could be further modified by enzymes in the cell. So the modification adds mass to the molecule. And the way to study these molecules is traditionally, and by the gold standards, has been mass spectrometry. So far there's been 150 of these modifications that's been discovered. There's upwards of 40 in the human system alone. But studying these is very difficult because for each data file, you have to manually inspect that you know exist. It's very laborious, it's time consuming, and it's prone to errors. Because of this, it's basically restricted the use of RNA modifications as biomarkers or their possibility for use in RNA therapeutics. So imagine that you're a team that's going after an orphan drug. You have the ability to create the drug in-house. You have the ability to test it. You even have maybe your own analytical platform and your own mass spectrometers. What you don't have is any way to efficiently extract the information you need from the data that you acquire, and it's hard to find anybody with any RNA mass spectrometry experience. You know, if you add this metric on top of an already an unfavorable cost-benefit ratio, it could result in abandonment of the project. So over the past 3 years, I've worked with Thermo Fisher Scientific. They're basically a manufacturer of mass spectrometers. And I've developed a data processing workflow that's specific for RNA. So it's ideally suited for batch processing. So batch processing of clinical samples. It's very fast and it's very precise. It uses multiple criteria for identification, so there's no false positives and there's no false negatives. It's completely scalable. And most importantly, it can find the unknowns in the sample. So whether or not these unknowns are naturally occurring or as a result of the treatment that you're applying. So we didn't publish this, it's all unpublished. We're the only ones that can do this, and it's going to set the standard for RNA mass spectrometry going forward. So what we have is the ability to acquire, process, interpret, and report on human samples as it pertains to RNA and its modifications, whether either as a diagnostic tool or in its possibility as an RNA drug. So the RNA-based therapeutics market's valued at $2 billion by 2023. We find this number very conservative, as just last year the FDA fast-tracked an RNA therapy to treat one single person. This girl's alive today because of this, right? So we want to help these people that are developing these types of drugs, and as such, we want to basically give them the opportunity to outsource their RNA mass spectrometry needs to us. So we would operate as an RNA-based contract research organization. So what this does is it saves the investigators the need to invest in infrastructure and to maintain the overhead. So the contract research organization market, it's estimated to be at $36 billion now. It's projected to grow at 8% annually to reach $56 billion by 2023. We feel there's ample room here for a small niche CRO like what we're proposing. So we just started. Up until today, I ran samples in human plasma, cerebral spinal fluid, urine, fractionated cellular RNA. We have the process, it's ready to go. What we really need is to find and talk to people that can benefit from what we're offering. And that's what I plan to do over the next 6 months. My team's composed of some of the best in the field. Pat Limbach, the University of Cincinnati, he's a world leader in RNA mass spectrometry. Juan Alfonso, he's a professor at The Ohio State University, is also a world-renowned RNA biologist. And Professor Sebastian Lytle at the University of Bern, he's a leader in the field for ribosomal profiling and messenger RNA biology. So together we have 500 publications, over 500 publications, and these guys, not me, have published in such prestigious journals as Nature, Science, and Cell. So they're the heavy hitters in the field. So what we really have is the ability to help people that's doing RNA therapeutics, RNA research, by giving them our expertise and the ability to do their mass spectrometry needs for them. But what we really need right now are introductions to the people that might be developing these types of technologies. So the RNA therapeutics, they help cure disease. They're there. It could be our kids, our mother, our fathers that will benefit from this technology. And if you're doing that type of research or you know somebody that's doing that, we want to see you succeed, and we would like to help you in your endeavor. So this is my contact information. That's it. I'm able to answer any questions you may have.
Nice job. Thank you. Any questions for Robert? Nancy?
We have one. So, what is your differentiation between other CROs?
I'm sorry?
What would be your differentiation from other contract research organizations?
So we're just RNA focused. We only want to look at RNA, and the data processing that we have is very unique. Nobody else has that, not MedPace, not PPD, not Quest. I actually talked to people at one of the CROs, LabCorp, and got some instructions for them.
Buy his product, right? That brings up another question, right? So is MedPace a partner, somebody that you would look to partner with? Because I think that's an introduction that might be a relatively easier thing to happen. Or would they just be in such competition that you wouldn't want to reach out to?
Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, we want these therapies to come about, and if we can use our expertise and what we've developed to help MedPace or help Mayo Clinic, whoever, I mean, we definitely want to work with them. I mean, we don't care. Yeah. We want to see the people get helped.
All right. And we have time for one more question, if there is one. All right. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks a lot.
Ann, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, you're going to have Ann talk to you about some AI technology she's got cooking up.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here or for tuning in. I am Annie Brown. I'm one of the breast radiologists at UC, and my teammates and I are all physicians at UC who are interested in what is hiding in plain sight on mammograms. So since we've all had our coffee, we're going to start off with a little audience participation. True or false, and by a show of hands, how many people believe this statement is true, that women are more likely than men to die of a heart attack? And how many think it's false? Okay, some people are not participating. Shame on you. We're going to wake you up now. So this is true. I'll tell you that most Americans believe it's false because historically we've labeled heart disease as a man's illness. It's actually the #1 killer of both men and women in our country. And unfortunately for women, unlike men, women are more likely to be diagnosed with heart disease after their first heart attack. What's worse is that over half of those women won't survive it. That's the bad news. This is the good news, which is that the majority of heart attacks and strokes can be prevented. So you don't need xenon microbubbles. No. Not all can be prevented. But largely with lifestyle modifications, medications, sometimes medical interventions are necessary, but these are all things that we can do. If, and here is the missing link, if we could identify women who were at risk before they had that first fatal heart attack, right? What we need is a screening tool, something that can reach a wide audience and something that doesn't just test another risk factor like blood pressure or blood sugar. We've encountered this problem before in women with breast cancer. Before screening mammography, we were not diagnosing breast cancers early either, because by the time women had symptoms, their cancer was harder to cure. But when we instituted screening mammography widely, in 1990, we saw mortality from breast cancer drop 40%. I'm here today to tell you that mammograms show more than just breast cancer. They show calcified arteries. I apologize if this doesn't project well, but on the left you have a normal mammogram, and then in the middle, I'll blow up for you, the early process of calcium deposits, which you can see lining the wall of the artery in the breast. And on the right, you'll see a more severe example. So I'm not the only one who knows about this. A lot of smart people have already studied this, and what the evidence shows is that 7 in 10 women who have these calcified arteries in the breast have calcified arteries in the heart as well. The CT scan here on the right showing those calcified coronary arteries is one of the best tests that we have for heart disease, short of putting a catheter in someone's heart. But CT scans are expensive. They're more radiation, and they're not accessible to everyone. By contrast, 45 million women got a mammogram this year to get screened for breast cancer in our country. And 13 million of those women, or about 30%, will have these early signs of heart disease. That's 2 diseases, 2 potential causes of death, and 1 test that's already being done. So if heart disease is 8 times more likely to kill women than breast cancer, why aren't we using this information already? You're probably wondering. I could say that it's because we're already pretty busy with the important task of diagnosing breast cancer. You're not meant to be able to read this slide, but this is the quick reference, the abridged version of our reporting system for breast cancer. The book itself probably weighs 10 pounds. I think the real reason is that we don't have a tool to measure it, and there is no reporting system right now for calcified arteries in the breast. This is where our solution comes in. That was a long drum roll, but you've probably heard about the successes and failures of AI. In particular, convolutional neural networks have had tremendous success in image recognition, approaching human performance, not there yet. And if we could, and this is a solvable problem, detect calcifications on the mammogram and also quantify them, then we would be able to plug that in with additional traditional risk factors and identify women at risk for heart disease. This alone may be one of the best tools that we have for women, and we're not using it. And I just want to make a point that this is far more straightforward than trying to identify breast cancer on mammograms. I won't go into that, but suffice it to say it's complicated and we'll probably struggle with it for a long time. So the mammography applications market was about $1.1 billion in 2017, just in North America, and we do lead the world, with a 5% CAGR, and about a quarter of the market right now is computer-aided detection, and that's what we're currently using to detect breast cancer, or at least help the radiologists detect breast cancer. So our tool has the potential to really expand the mammography market. We think it'll take about a year before we have our minimum viable product, and that's the time that we need to label and train our AI model. And we want to iterate that until we have greater than 95% accuracy. Then we'd like to study it internally. That actually will be a pretty quick process, but we'll compare the calcium scoring in the breast to the known risk factors of heart disease before we branch out and do multi-center trials. And that'll, hopefully, it will be the first prospective study ever of breast arterial calcifications. We'll use that data to then refine our risk assessment tool. This is our clinical research team. It's multidisciplinary. We have 2 breast radiologists, 2 chest radiologists, one of whom, Dr. Stevens, is an AI expert in our department, and a cardiologist, Dr. Raza. So we've got a lot going for us on the clinical side of things. We have an understanding of machine learning, but we're really looking for technical partners who can help us get this to a level that could be commercially viable. And to get that widely adopted, we need a statistician. Hopefully through this process, we've identified EIRs who are interested in helping us along the way. And we know what we don't know, and that is definitely anything to do with application architecture and integration. So we're looking for software developing partners as well. So if that sounds like you or anyone that you know, would love to chat afterwards, or please take my email information, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you to the Venture Lab, and thanks all of you for your attention.
Great job. Question in the back? Restate the question.
Okay.
Hang on a second, Dino. Can we get Dino a mic, please?
Right
Doctor.
Come on up.
Dino's coming on up for a question, and then he's going to have to bid on our next showcase.
CNNs are inherently brittle and they require large data sets for training. How do you account for that within that calcified model that you showed, right? Because any change in that training data would give you very erroneous results, right? So how are you accounting for that?
So the question was about how large a data set is required to truly train an AI to be as accurate as we would hope.
Yeah, plus it's brittle. It's very brittle. That's
It,
more important.
that we would get erroneous results. Also true. And we know that this is something that is going on. There are image recognition experts who are studying this. There are publicly available data sets. A lot of them, however, are digitized film mammograms. So it really will be a process of scaling. And that is one reason that we're looking to partner with people who have already done this, so we can hopefully do what would take 5 years in 1 year and avoid these wasted cycles. So we are looking for a partner who has more experience with training these models. You're right, it's not as straightforward as a lot of people would have you believe. You can't just shove a bunch of data into a model and have it work.
So, as background to you and to everyone else that asked that question, he is your partner for that. So
We're gonna talk,
Dino is the CEO of one of our revenue-driving businesses in the explainable AI space. So that would be a great follow-up for you to talk. He may not have the answer. That'll be the real question. Go back to Dino and say, how would you solve this problem,
Turn that back around.
Dino? That's right. All right, one more question right here.
Anybody else?
Do you also check the family history of the females who are suffering heart diseases?
Absolutely. That's one of the major risk factors is family history. And right now, I think, it's a process of doctors having conversations with patients, publicity of the reality of heart disease, and really getting it on women's radar in particular. There's the Red Dress campaign you may have heard about. There's Red Dress Day. Well, there's a whole month for breast cancer, and it kills, 8 times fewer women.
And do you have an age distribution of the prevalence of the diseases in the family?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Age distribution.
Age distribution, like which ages are more prone to have those heart diseases, are more prone to have those risks to have heart diseases?
A lot of variables go into a person's risk of developing heart disease, but age is a big factor. So the older patients are more likely that there is going to be disease in the vessels. And multiple other risk factors, blood pressure, lifestyle choices, smoking, family history that you mentioned. There are many factors at play, but right now, no good screening test. There's cholesterol tests and blood pressure checks that you get at your doctor's office, checking blood sugar, looking for other predisposing conditions to heart disease. But again, we're not necessarily reaching a wide audience. Of course, anyone under the care of a physician is being evaluated for these things, but it may be not on the individual's radar. We'd like to raise more awareness and take advantage of something that is already there.
All right. Thanks, Ann.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Take that. All right, Daniel, please.
Okay, thank you. My name is Daniel Pomerantz-Kreml. I'm a faculty member in the College of Medicine here at UC. Let's see, forward. Nearly half of you in the audience will be diagnosed with cancer. This will have, of course, significant impact on you and your family emotionally, as well as financially. With estimates of $250,000 is the average cost for cancer drugs 4 times the median US household income. The impact, of course, is much greater and significant, really overwhelming on society as a whole, with estimates per year of $150 billion in US national expenditure for cancer care. Myself and my team are developing a drug. It's been tested in animal models, not only in mice, but also in primates. It's a non-toxic drug, and this drug offers the possibility of improving incomes, reducing toxicity of standard of care, and also reducing the cost of cancer care. The cancers that we have focused on primarily have been what's called an orphan cancer, a pediatric brain cancer called medulloblastoma. And here shown on the left is a young child. This is typical of a medulloblastoma patient. His name was Connor. He was a fan of professional wrestling, and he went by the nickname the Crutcher. He was diagnosed at 3 years old and passed away at the age of 8. On the right is the individual who most people think about actually today when they think of melanoma, and that's Bob Marley. This is a common cancer, melanoma. He was diagnosed at 31 and passed away at 36 years of age. 2.3% of the US population is expected to be diagnosed with melanoma. The current treatment of care is usually a surgical resection followed by radiation. For medulloblastoma patients, these are children who are subject to radiation, the radiation dosage is such that it causes permanent cognitive impairment in the children. In the case of melanoma, while radiation is applied, melanoma is considered a radiation-resistant cancer, so it's poorly effective, and the effect is causing secondary malignancies. Targeted therapy is not really available for nor effective for medulloblastoma patients. In the case of melanoma patients, they develop resistance to targeted therapies. Everyone is very excited about immunotherapy unavailable for the children that have medulloblastoma. And although everyone is very excited about immunotherapy, only about a quarter of melanoma patients actually are reacting positively to immunotherapy. And the reaction is variable. What if we had a drug that could improve outcomes so that patients live longer, reduce the toxicity of radiation and immunotherapy, and lower the cost, the financial burden on the individual and society as a whole? Well, we do have a drug that we know based on animal studies that does improve the effectiveness of radiation. And what we know about how it's working, it allows you to administer low-dose radiation, a dose of radiation that otherwise has no effect, but is effective in reducing tumor volume, killing cancer cells. We also understand that our drug, in the case of melanoma in animal models, improves the effectiveness of immunotherapy. And we haven't progressed as far as our work in medulloblastoma and melanoma, but we know in other systemic and brain cancer that this drug is similarly effective in radiosensitizing as well as improving the effectiveness of immunotherapy. How does this drug work? Well, the drug here in this cartoon is shown as a white sphere, and its target as a blue donut. The drug binds to the target, the protein that's sitting on the cell membrane. The drug causes significant changes in the cell, and it also, interestingly, recruits the immune system to the tumor. And the drug causes the death of cancer cells specifically. It's non-toxic, has no effect on non-cancer cells. At this stage, we've completed preclinical studies for medulloblastoma and melanoma, and we're just now starting to write the IND. We anticipate early in the new year to have that approved, and then we're on to clinical trial, and we've been in discussion with people in different sites to perform early phase 1 clinical trial, while the preclinical studies for other cancers is ongoing. The team is a highly experienced team. It includes myself. I'm a biochemist, PhD, as well as a very experienced chemist who synthesized all the compounds that we are testing as anti-cancer agents, and also 3 highly experienced physician scientists, a neuro-oncologist, an oncologist, and a radiation oncologist. So what are we seeking now? We're seeking enthusiastic partners to help us guide our drug forward, specifically an EIR or EIRs who have drug and pharmaceutical experience. And we're also looking for individuals who have regulatory affair experience, who know how to rub the back of the FDA to move our drug forward faster. If you have any questions, please do contact myself and my team. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, questions? Anybody eager? Yeah.
How does your small molecule drug know to solely bind to the cancer causing like proteins versus regular healthy cells?
So the drug is binding to, well, we know that the cancer cells have the protein to bind to the cancer cells, but that protein is lacking in non-cancer cells. With the exception of neurons, the drug is actually a member of the benzodiazepine class of compounds. So if you want to think of a quote-unquote negative side effect, the drug is slightly sedating and it's an anxiolytic. But those are not in cancer patients, actually, negative side effects.
All right. Anybody else with a question? Yeah.
Competitive landscape, what do you see from a competitive landscape standpoint?
At this time, they're not that I'm aware of any FDA-approved concomitant therapy like this.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
If you've been using the comment card, I appreciate it. If not, don't forget they're here to leave a note for the teams. Matthew, welcome back to the stage, man.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Terry, and I'm the CEO and founder of Dial Guide. Now, believe it or not, Dial Guide is my 3rd startup, and if there's anything that I know about starting a business, it's that business growth is difficult. You can have a great product, but if you don't have the business, or more importantly, the sales skills to execute your product idea, your business is going to die. Now, as a founder, I recognize this, and I solved this by trying to become a great salesperson myself. I watched all the videos, read the books, and my old co-founder and I even debated paying $700 for professional sales training. But even with all this training, as soon as I hopped on the call, I found myself forgetting everything I learned. And after the call, I had no way to assess how I did or the next steps I should take in my training and development as a salesperson. So another solution to solve this problem is to hire or find a great salesperson. Now, even if I had enough money to find a great salesperson, they're going to be extremely expensive, and they may have obtained bad habits in the sales industry. And right now, completely lost my train of thought. Salespeople have bad habits, and I'll probably be left with a junior sales rep. In this rep, I'd have to train myself and in a space that I'm not completely sound in, and all to acquire more customers. And statistics states that acquiring customers is the #1 problem that small businesses have. This is why I created Dial Guide. Now, Dial Guide gives junior sales reps a tool to help them execute and sell like the professionals. There are 3 stages to Dial Guide. First is pre-call planning. This stage is where Dial Guide helps the user plan out every stage of the call, and it also allows them to create a dynamic script full of different sales formulas and sales techniques that the best of the best use. When I was starting my last business, one of my mentors gave me 3 words that completely changed the tone of all my sales calls: quick and easy. I'd hop on the call, build rapport, and then say something like, "Listen, man, I'm not here to sell you my whole product or take care of all your processes. I just want to do something quick and easy, quick pilot project to give you a taste of the product so you can decide whether you want to use this or not." Now that got me in the door a lot of places, and I want to program different techniques like that into Dial Guide to help people who are not fluent or trained in sales become better salespeople. Now the next part of Dial Guide is the on-call guidance. While someone is selling on the call, Dial Guide will give them real-time insights like how long they've been talking versus a prospect, and give them suggested actions like, "Hey, you've been talking for too long. How about you ask a question?" Or, "Hey, you're in rapport. You've been in rapport for too long. Why don't you transition to discovery and move the call along?" And there's also a unique way to display the dynamic script they created in the last phase to help them stay on track. And lastly, there's a post-call feedback and training stage of Dial Guide, where after the call, you'll be giving a rating on how well you did on the call and what you need to work on. And this is also great for founders or sales managers who have to manage a big sales team, so they know who's doing the best and who to coach. So as of right now, this is a software as a service business, and I am selling it as a premium model because my target market is the startups and the small, medium-sized businesses who may have the junior sales reps. Now, I know what everybody's thinking. Sales is a huge field, with billions of different sales tools out there. Why is Dial Guide different? There are 3 stages of Dial Guide: scripting, real-time guide, and the post-call analytics. And I do have competition in the scripting space, but all those companies you see there are not solely based scripting companies. They are these all-in-one companies who do everything, and scripting is like a subset of what they do. I have competition in the real-time guide space, and there's a lot of competition in the post-call analytics. And here's Dial Guide in the middle. The only one to offer all 3, but I'm still surrounded by viable competition. Now, while there may be many different technical reasons why Dial Guide is different, my competition does have more money, they offer more features, and they ultimately have more customers than Dial Guide. And one of the main reasons why I'm different is my target market. I'm targeting the startups and the small, medium-sized businesses. They don't need all the complex features, and they don't want to pay for all the complex features. And a lot of my competition offer very cluttered interfaces with way too many things going on that startups and small, medium-sized businesses simply do not need. Dial Guide is going to make a simple, elegant interface to help people just simply get the job done. Now, right now, there are 30 million small businesses in the United States, and I can guarantee you all of them want to make more sales. And a fraction of those will become medium-sized, and a fraction of those will become enterprises. And I'm hoping Dial Guide can help them every step of the way. So as of right now, the team consists of just me. I'm a 5th-year aerospace engineering student here at University of Cincinnati. I've started 2 other tech startups, built iOS applications, web applications, done back-end, and also artificial intelligence. And I'm working with a very smart man by the name of Jeff Curlis. He has over 25 years of sales experience, and also have a mentor called John Salisbury, who is a founder of 6 companies, 4 of them being tech companies that are generating over $5 million in revenue. So as far as the timeline goes, I do have a demo of the real-time guide and the dynamic scripter, so if anyone's interested, come talk to me after. I plan on having the full product finished by 2020, and then in early 2020 start testing with alpha customers. And after the interface gets built, I want to iterate and build the beta, which has more of the artificial intelligence and the machine learning. And then after that, raise a seed round for marketing, customer service to get to product launch. So my ask today is anyone in the small to medium-sized business space who's looking to grow their sales and willing to test out an alpha product, and anyone in sales who is more organized and technical in nature that can help me out with the algorithm in general. So that's it. Thank you.
Good job. All right. Questions for Matthew? Yeah.
Do you require, so you're aiming at junior salespeople, is it a requirement that the company you work with already have a sales team that it's just 1 or 2 people, or do you actually aim in recruiting junior salespeople, or even doing the sales outreach yourself?
We do not recruit That is not one of the things that we offer. But even if you don't have a sales team, you're just a founder who wants to get better at sales, this thing, will be able to help you out.
Yeah, Sam?
What's the solution mid-call with the coaching there to not make the sales call sound robotic?
A lot of that comes from the user. There's a great way to read a script and there's a not great way to read a script, and that's just something that's going to have to come with practice. And also in how I structure the real-time guide. Maybe if every word, maybe if they write out the whole script, that will sound robotic, but if they just have bullet points about what they want to cover and what they want to say, that might sound better. So that's going to take a lot of iteration.
Get one online. The question is around how much work, since you're working with startups initially, how much work does the startup team have to put into building the original script?
Right. So for the alpha version, they will have to build a script themselves, but I do want to have templates like a pain doctor formula or other probing formulas programmed to Dial God already, so people can just click a couple buttons, have the template, and then fill it in, kind of like a Mad Lib type deal.
Okay, one last question.
Would you imagine being able to ingest data specifically about, let's say, a customer incoming call so that you can personalize that conversation with that potential customer?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do in the future. So maybe after the call, you'll be prompted with next steps, and if you hop on the call with that customer again, it'll be like, hey, this is what you guys talked about last time. These are good rapport questions to ask again, and things like that. So definitely.
All right. Thanks, Shaman.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matthew. Click next. All right, UG's here to talk about e-biopolymers. This is the last talk of the day. We are making great time today. So no pressure, but you're the one keeping everybody from standing up.
Sure, before lunch.
All right.
Well, thanks everyone for still being here to listen to this very last talk, and I hope this is not the least important one. My name is Yujie Sang. I'm from chemistry of UC, and today I'm going to introduce the technology of e-biopolymers. So polymer products have found many applications in our society. And one of the top polymers used today is called PET. And PET can be used for plastic bottles, food containers, all the way to packaging and auto machinery parts. And because it's so important, it has been produced 56 million tons every year, makes it one of the top polymers produced every year. However, there are lots of disadvantages of PET utilization. As you can see from these left two pictures, actually we dump lots of PET plastic waste into the ocean. And see this very cute turtle, he's in danger because of those plastic nets, mostly composed of PET. And actually, right now, there are 6 gigantic plastic islands floating in our ocean. And in terms of area, each of them is larger than the state of Ohio. And they will be floating there for a long time because the lifetime of PET is 450 years. And only less than 30% of PET is cycled every year. And even you recycle them, they're still going to be entered into CO2 and released to the atmosphere because the production of PET is from petroleum refining industry. And actually, PET is quite expensive because of the major component to produce PET is PTA, roughly $1,450 per ton to produce PTA. And PTA is derived from paraxylene, which is close to $1,000 per ton. So if I introduce an alternative, a greener biomass-based polymer, which has even better properties than PET, for example, this one, PEF, which can be derived from biomass 100%, and it has better physical properties such as thermal properties and rigidity, and as well as higher gas penetration rate. So if we can produce that, that would be really great. Then the question is, can we produce in a cheaper way than PET, right? For example, if you take a look at the manufacture process of the PEF production, actually people already identified several monosugars like glucose can be converted into PEF. And they need to go through a very critical step to produce FDCA. FDCA has been claimed as a sleeping giant for quite a while now. But why is it still sleeping? right? Why there's no mature manufacturer out there? Because the process to convert the glucose to FDCA is very challenging. And our technology, which composed of electrochemical processes, which will help you to convert glucose very effectively to FDCA. And right now, we are very confident we can produce FDCA with a price tag less than 1,000 per ton, which is a major component of PEF. And this cost is 30% less than the PTA, which is used to produce the PET. We know there are lots of competitors out there using so-called biodegradable plastic materials in the market right now. And actually, why we are confident that we can success and why we think we can make money? Because first of all, this is a growing market. If you look at the data right now, actually last year 1.6 million tons of bioplastic materials produced, and it's expected to increase to 2.7 million tons in the next 4 or 5 years. And just for the biopackaging market, it will increase from 36 billion from last year to more than $50 billion in the next 4 years. Secondly, we think our technology is unique. We will produce a greener and low-cost approach to get this very important FDCA to produce PEF, which is a direct replacement of PET. And this is a milestone for our team. Actually, we have our first patent issued about 2 years ago, and we are going to file our second patent to protect our technology all the way from glucose to FDCA. And we hope we can demonstrate the kilogram production of FDCA by the middle of next year, and hopefully by 2021, we will have a startup to commercialize our technology. So this is our team. I'm a professor from chemistry, and my collaborators from chemical engineering, and another professor from chemistry as well. And we have expertise in electrochemical catalysis, biomass processing, as well as polymer chemistry. And we have postdocs and graduate students working with us. And in terms of what we need at this moment, actually, we are looking for industrial partners who have expertise in electrochemical processes. And hopefully, they will help us to build up a pilot facility and demonstrate a large-scale application within 1 or 2 years. And here, I want to list several industrial companies which already have electrochemical processes in place for their own products. And we are very interested in talking to them. And if you know any contact info of these companies, we would love to talk to you as well. And here's my contact information. And you're welcome to check out our own website, the Sun Group. And thank you all. I would love to take any questions you may have.
Great job. Thank you. All right. Yeah?
Basic biomass ingredient for your product.
I'm sorry?
Your biomass ingredient, wheat stalks, corn shucks, what can you process or what can you build?
Could be a variety of biomass raw materials, ranging from like corn stalk, sugar cane, and even like the wood chips. As long as they can be decomposed to produce those monosugars like fructose, glucose, we can use them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
For the plastics in the bag, is that easy for degradation?
And the degradation rate of PEF is 10 times higher than the PET, so which means the lifetime is much, much shorter, and roughly, yeah.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
Appreciate it. All right. We made it through 7 cohorts, right? You guys have, some of you have been here every time, which we appreciate greatly. Some dates for you as you're starting to pack up. Applications for Cohort 8, if you're interested and you are in the Bearcat family, so students, faculty, staff, or alumni, we have a website that if you reach out or ask some of the folks in the back on your way out, we'd be happy to get you the link to so you can apply to be a part of the next program. Applications close December 13th at midnight, so technically the 14th for all of you very technical people. And then on January 7th, we're kicking off on that Tuesday. It runs 7 weeks straight to February 18th when we will all come back here together, hopefully, right, to see Cohort 8. And I guess with that, my last